9 Surprising Home Alone Facts. It's been nearly 3 decades since Kevin McCallister's family left him home alone for the holidays, and an instant movie classic was born. But even if you watch Home Alone every holiday season or many more times throughout the year, there are probably some things you still don't know about John Hughes and Chris Columbus' joint masterpiece. Home Alone first hit theaters on November 16, 1990, and skyrocketed Macaulay Culkin to child stardom. Since then, its story has become one of the most beloved holiday movies of all time. That tarantula was real. A lot of horrible things happened to the Wet Bandits when they try to break into the McCallister home, but the booby trap that elicits the strongest reaction is when Kevin puts his older brother Buzz's pet spider on Marv's face to distract him long enough to escape. That likely has to do with the fact that Daniel Stern agreed to let a real tarantula crawl across his face. Marv's hilariously blood-curdling scream had to be dubbed in later though, as they didn't want to risk frightening the spider by having him do it in real time. The script came together in less than 10 days. According to James Hughes, the son of beloved screenwriter John Hughes, The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, his father wrote the script for Home Alone in less than 10 days after travelers' anxiety sparked the idea for the movie ahead of the family's first trip to Europe in 1989. 2 weeks later, after returning home, he revisited the premise: what if one of the kids had been accidentally left behind? Over the next 9 days, he completed the first draft of Home Alone. James added that John knocked out the final 44 pages of the screenplay in just 8 hours. Before finishing, he'd expressed concerns in the marginalia of his journal that he was working too slowly. The McCallister house is now worth over $1.5 million. The 4,250-square-foot red brick, Georgian-style house in Winnetka, Illinois, that director Chris Columbus picked to be the titular home in which Kevin would be left alone sold for $1.585 million in 2015 after nearly a year on the market. However, its owners were clearly expecting more for the iconic property. Its original listing price was $2.4 million. It's a 27-year world record holder. Home Alone took the domestic box office by storm during the 1990 holiday season, and continued to dominate throughout the first half of the following year, maintaining its #1 spot for 12 weeks, and remaining in the top 10, until June 1991. In the process, it earned $285,761,343 and became the highest-grossing movie of 1990, as well as the highest-grossing domestic live-action comedy ever. It held on to that world record until 2017, 27 years after its release, when the Chinese blockbuster Never Say Die knocked it out of the top spot. Joe Pesci accidentally really bit Macaulay Culkin. According to Culkin, while rehearsing for the scene near the end of the movie when the Wet Bandits finally managed to catch Kevin and threatened to bite all his fingers off, Pesci accidentally really did bite him. As of a 2004 interview with Rule 42, Culkin still bore the scar from his co-star's mistake. The sacrifices actors make for their craft. Robert De Niro could have been a wet bandit. According to Mental Floss, before Joe Pesci was cast as Harry Lime, the role was offered to another famous mob movie star, Robert De Niro. In fact, Pesci wasn't even second in line. After De Niro turned down the part, Saturday Night Live's John Lovitz also passed on it. Thankfully, Pesci was the perfect man for the role. It spawned its very own Elvis conspiracy theory. Although Home Alone didn't hit theaters until 13 years after Elvis Presley died of a heart attack at his Graceland estate, upon watching the movie, some Elvis is still alive conspiracy theorists became convinced that the King had made a cameo. If you pay close attention during the scene in which Kevin's mom Catherine O'Hara, is arguing with a ticket agent at the Scranton airport, a bearded man wearing a sports coat and turtleneck that bears some resemblance to Elvis can be seen behind her. However, others claim the extra was a man named Gary Grott who appeared in a number of Chris Columbus movies. Buzz's girlfriend is actually a boy in costume. When Kevin takes advantage of Buzz's absence to go through his stuff, he finds a framed photo of Buzz's girlfriend that he's, let's say, less than impressed by. But according to Devin Rotroy, the girlfriend in question was actually a boy in costume. Rotroy told Yahoo in 2013 that the producers thought that casting a girl in the role would be just plain cruel, so they opted for a boy instead. They decided it would be unkind to put a girl in that role of just being funny looking. The art director had a son who was more than willing to volunteer for the part. Old Man Marley originally wasn't in the movie at all. John Hughes' first draft of the script didn't include Old Man Marley, the neighbor who Kevin originally believes is a serial killer, but turns out to be a kindly old man who saves him from the Wet Bandits. Hughes added the character, whose name is a nod to Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, after Columbus suggested that the story could do with some more heart.